chemicals. You can get savory pies at San Yan.
That's why.
And beer for $3.14.
Yeah, scoring.
My background didn't show.
Hi Marie, how you doing?
Hey Chris, how are you? Just trying to get everything situated on my new laptop. So
Not know that.
All of the best players are more comfortable now that, yeah, they did better. Were your sweater matches with shoes?
Got it. No.
From my sweater,
But when
they just changed it.
downstairs,
One of them, anyone.
So what's your background, Marie?
I know, because that's where I would love to be every single day.
It's moving, so you should have some else.
No, I don't, but he doesn't get down there much.
Hmm.
There's man. It's all. It's well, it's a daily basis. So I don't know if you call that true or not.
I have.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Tourism Promotion Advisory Board meetings for March 13th, 2025. The time is 6 o'clock. We're meeting in person in the City of Salem's Library, Anderson Room A, and for those online via Zoom. So we started with the roll call. Ryan Gale, Chair. Here. Charlie Wright, Vice Chair.
Here.
Roger Williams. Here. Aaron Zeisett.
Here.
Betsy is not here. And Tony.
I am here. Yep.
Tony's online. Great.
All right, so welcome to our meeting today. Appreciate everyone being here. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda for March 13th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. So next I'd like to review our typical Cultural Tourism Promotional Advisory Board year. So this is a meeting where we're reviewing the grant scores of all the people who have submitted an application for funding, and we will make a decision tonight about the funding. In April and May, there will be city budget hearings and initial review of the most recent grant approval process. We'll assess how things go. And in June, the city council will adopt the budget and the board will review grant application criteria for next cycle and make any recommendations. Okay, so the next item on your agenda is the approval of the minutes from February 13th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I'll now move on to public comment, and this is the opportunity for the appearance of persons wishing to address the board on any matters other than those which appear on the agenda. Do we have any public comment? Anybody in person or online? Okay, seeing no public comment, I'd like to move on to the next item on the agenda for the items requiring action. The first item being the public acknowledgement of potential conflicts of interest by board members. Do board members have any conflicts of interest they would like to disclose?
I think I already disclosed all mine. In addition to ones we've already.
Yeah.
disclosed. We're all good? Am I good?
Oh, and let the record show that that's easy.
Yes, that's it.
Seeing there are no additional conflicts of interest disclosed other than conflicts that have previously been made public, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the review of the final grant scores.
Everyone can see.
Yeah, maybe slide it over just.
You like.
You want me to slide that over to the left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that little?
Just yeah, you have a copy too. It's fine. Okay. You can see that okay?
So this year there were, I believe, 49 applications that we received. And on the passing scores, 47 passed. As you can see at the very bottom, the only two applications that did not pass are the two event grants. Before you tonight, the question is how does the board wish to allocate the funding to each one of those grant applications? Option one provides the full amount until we run out of funding. And option two is another 80% for all the events, which leaves a small amount left over, but because we want to first out, we should receive more funding.
Right.
But that's totally up to the board is to figure out how you wish to allocate the remaining funding in it all. The other question is for the facility operators. In the past, there's been requests for equal pay across all facility operators regardless of their score. Currently, it is posted. Option one would be based on their score, and then option two would be plus.
I'm sorry, Chris, could you repeat option two?
So option two is primarily on the 80% of the asking for all the events. So most of the event operators requested the full 10,000, which exceeds the funding amount being allocated for the new budget year. And so option two would reduce the full 10,000 to 80%, which would be the $8,000 level. There is one application that had requested 9,000. That's the Kaylee of the Valley New Year Festival, and they'd be, also be put down at the $8,000 level to match everybody else's as the maximum amount. And then we held harmless everybody else that's under. There's 3 or 4 that are at 3,000, and then the smaller grants at 2,000.
Any initial comments for anybody or anybody like to go, to?
I think the 80% is equal. for across the board. And that way everybody gets a cut and able to do their events rather than leaving someone behind.
And one of the things we discussed as well in the past is doing the equal distribution for the facility operators. So that could be in the past, we've done that as a separate motion, then we've done, the options for the capital improvements and projects sort of as its own separate motion as well.
I think we should keep this two separate motions.
Yeah.
So do you motion? Or are we ready to vote? We want to discuss? We're discussing. There you go.
You make a motion and then
Yeah, we
discuss the
need a motion for us to discuss.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll start with facility operators, then
Okay.
there's a motion.
I'll motion that we keep it even. That's what we did last year, and the facility operators seem happy with it. They seem to feel that that was the fair treatment. I think it is.
Okay, so a motion, Aaron, is there a second?
I second motion.
Okay, Beth seconds, any discussion? We're all feeling good about doing the equal distribution?
Well, I'm gonna vote negative, but it'll still pass.
Well, we need to discuss that.
Yeah.
You might change our mind.
Yeah,
So,
it's-
Yeah, I think you're trying to talk.
speak your piece.
No, I think that they scored at a level that we should grant them the funds at a level, but I know that the facility operators has previously wanted it equal. Just don't agree that that's how it should happen. I didn't put all that energy into scoring for nothing.
Any other quick discussion?
I mean, I can see your point, and it does take time to read through every single one of them and to do the scoring, so I can see where you're coming from. And at the same time, I feel that each one of them are doing whatever base that they're gonna do, and again, I feel like it'd be an equal to all.
Yeah.
But I can see where you're coming from as well.
Yeah, my personal preference is stick what we've done in the past and also honor what the applicants have spoken in the past, what they would like to see happen. And by keeping the money, distributed equally.
I mean, I certainly agree with the sentiment that, we did put a lot of work into rating these, and they put a lot of time and effort into writing the grant proposals, and we rated the ones higher that seemed to fit better. But I'd probably be more inclined to do that with the operators grant than the events. So just my 2 cents.
So any other discussion? During the motion to distribute the funding for the facility operators equally.
I would just like to say on the record that the scoring is still important, because if somebody really massively dropped the ball, that should have been reflected in the scoring, and then we would be having a different discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
These are shades of gray.
Mhm.
So I don't have a problem.
Okay, we're ready to vote. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to distribute the facility operator funds equally, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
There you go.
Okay, motion passes.
I just have to be negative.
It's okay. Get it out of your system.
And so for capital improvement projects, all received a passing score, so I don't believe there's anything up for discussion there. We can kind of factor that into the other motion. So is there a motion regarding, what to do with these special projects and project grants? Whether to go for option 1, option 2, or introduce a new idea?
I motion option 2.
Okay,
You're discussing.
all right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, I'm less inclined to go with the 80% in this area, just because there's just although the scores don't generally reflect it, I think there was a big gap in some of these toward the top than some of these toward the bottom. I don't know how, I don't see the exact numbers, how much funding we would have, how far we would get down the list, but
If we were to fund at 100%, there's 3 grants that did receive passing score that would not get funded. And then,
Isn't that yellow?
well, yeah, but that one
that's
would get
yellow.
funded partially.
Okay.
But I also agree with you. So I will flat out say there are some grants that I did not score highly and they received a passing grade. And their budget stuck out to me that we were carrying a lot of weight for them. And I don't see them as sustainable for the future, and that concerns me with the budget for the TOT and moving forward, setting a precedence that we always fund everything.
Yeah.
We've already set the precedent.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that, we should be sticking to historical precedent and making sure money is distributed around the community as much as possible for events, because I think the community is stronger when there's as many events as possible. Now, I don't think it's fair to say all events are created equal in terms of, their alignment to the 3 major goals, but just having the, events in the community, and all the events that were in yellow did receive a passing score. So my opinion is to go with option 2, fund it at 80%, which last year we did, and people seem to, generally be fine with, in order to maximize the number of events in the community and stick with our historical precedent.
I mean, my thought is also that if the higher scores get the higher funding, and then there's going to be a lesser funding for the other programs that could have, let's say, flourished, but they don't have enough to continue with what they're going to do. But would that be something like what Carly was saying, that would kind of like put them off the grid for the next 2026 or 2027?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it depends on how much money the TOT has next year and how much people ask for. Everyone asking for $10,000 is a lot. And some of those budgets, I just don't think warranted $10,000 because we were the only funding source, or they showed that they were gonna have enough profit that we're covering it in excess, so they're actually making money off having
Yeah.
TOT. And
Just to I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to clarify. So if say we're funding at $8,000, we're not going to fund above what was asked for, correct?
No, we're not funding above.
Right, now for.
It's just whether we're funding what was asked for, or just 80%.
Got it.
We'll add what they're asked for.
Yeah, in order to allow more, events who had a passing score to receive funding.
All the large grants are an option 2. All large grants are funded at 80% or at the $8,000 level. There was only one that was at 9,000 requests, so
That would get bumped down to 8,000.
it'd be lower if we went 80% with them. But to keep everything level, all large grants are being funded in option 2 at $8,000. And then the smaller grants, which were 3,000 and 2,000, we kept at the whole amount that they had requested.
I have a lot of mixed feelings about all of this. I think the 80% is probably our most fair option. I think that we don't have a good mechanism for tying how much we give people to what their score is. Like the top 30% gets funded 100%, and then as you break down into tiers, it reduces by 5 or 10% or whatever. Well, you're the math person. I would let you do the math in the spreadsheet. I write for a living. So I think that there might be some talk in that in the future. maybe as we revisit some of this stuff. But I think also part of the issue that I ran into last year as I was looking at this stuff is it's never been really clear to me as whether this is incubator funding or whether this is like event funding. Are we trying to get these events started and incubating these creative things and then hoping that they will become flourishing and self-sustaining and we do not have to continue to fund them indefinitely for in memoriam? Or are we funding events and put in your application, you get scored, you either get your full amount or you get a portion of the amount that you ask for. I think by every year saying we're just gonna say 80% or whatever it is, whatever it breaks down to give everybody an even amount, we're incentivizing people to ask for more money than they need, because if I'm looking at this and I know that this happens every year, I'm gonna go for the 10,000 when really maybe I only need 8,000. So that I make sure that I get at least 8,000. So I'm gonna be doing that arithmetic in my head as a grant
And
writer.
those are things we can discuss next time around and review the application process again.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
this for this year, I get what Carly's saying, I get what you're saying. I think that we don't have a good mechanism for solving that right now.
Yeah.
Unless someone has a suggestion. I do.
But my understanding too is that they have to show all of the receipts when they purchase, right?
These are reimbursements, so they have to actually spend the money, provided invoices and copies of the costs associated with putting on the event, and then they receive reimbursement.
And just for the purpose of understanding too, I mean, I'm just gonna name someone, just for the, on the record, just for, as an example, but not that we're targeting anyone. I just want to put that clear. But let's say like Hoopla. Hoopla is like very popular with the kids and everything else. And so is that something like Erin was saying that we have to fund, or that maybe it's going to be funded year after year after year, or would they be able to sustain themselves? So I'm just trying to put it all together in my mind and trying to make it all make sense. So
I think to go back, we need to determine the purpose of the grant, and if it is going to be an incubation grant, then we need to put time limits on that.
Exactly.
That's how long they can apply for that particular grant.
Yeah, I think these are ideas that are worth discussing when we do the review of the application process. Having new board members, one of the benefits is bringing in new ideas and an opportunity to improve the process, make it more fair and make it more strongly aligned with our three primary goals.
Well, and I think also if we were to shift to more of an incubator model, that would be a discussion that we need to have with the community. I think that needs to be something that applicants have input in, that people in the community have input in. There's positives and negatives for both. I'm not advocating for either one, but it's just not really clear because this came up last year too. It's like, and I'm like, well, it's not an incubator grant. We are funding events right now. So
Yeah, the only
we
thing
should
that-
try to give at least as many events as possible money.
Yeah, the only thing that we really call an incubator grant is the small $2,000 grant
Yeah,
that is open to anybody that's not, even if they don't have a nonprofit.
right.
So that's kind of the incubator one. And the hopes was that as they became more,
Self-sustained.
self-sustaining, they could then become a nonprofit and they could apply for the larger grants to help them further their events and make it bigger, more better. But yeah, as currently stand, the city's stance on the grants is that it's open to anybody, all nonprofits, nonprofit status. So on that aspect, yes, there have been applications every year from the same organization, the same event for many years, just because that's simply the nature of the grant, or the tier 2 grants. That is an available option, and it maintains having that event taking place every year too.
Another thing that was brought up last year was that we've allowed people to apply for 2 grants. And obviously we have again, so that's something that we might want to think about for the future, is not allowing 2 event grants and changing that.
These are all good conversations for when we revisit the application.
I agree with you.
But I don't feel like I have a good mechanism for denying money to people who passed.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah, so just to kind of restate my position again, I'm in favor of option 2 because it provides funding to all grants that receive a passing score. It aligns with our historic precedent. And it's within our, we have money to do so.
Yeah.
And that any issues like regarding, how the application or scoring, that could be addressed the next time we do our review of the grant process. Is there comments or discussion, or are we ready to take a vote? So all those in favor of option 2, which is funding the special project grant applications at 80%. Yeah, please say aye.
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 I,
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion passes. So moving on to our next agenda item, which is the Cultural Tourism Fund Report for February 2025.
So the latest information, we now cleared the $3 million mark for the year. We're actually up about 10% from where we were last year at the same time frame on the TOT collections. So we're actually doing pretty well. Expenditures are on target.
Chris, can you zoom in just like one cell?
Zoom in one font.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
make it just a tiny bit. I can read it, but I'm squinting and leaning. I feel like my grandmother. That's better.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Just a comparison for the major tourist attractions. For these top grants was $791,970 for the current year, fiscal year 2025, and the prior year, don't have that on there, but oh yeah, it's buried in that number. There was an extra allocation that was made mid-year. But year over year, you can see we're right on target. We're just 9% above where we were last year in expenditures for top grants. Looking at the monthly top collections. See that month of January is the most, February, which was January activities, came at 22% higher than what it was a year ago for the same January timeframe. Again, 2.7 million versus 3 million, 10% increase for this year's stock so far. So we're on target.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Chris, for the report. And so
we actually need the budget for approval of the city manager's proposed budget. Just let me go ahead and pull that up. Just as a FYI, this is the TOT grants that were received in 2024. We received 47 and approved 44, which is a 93.6% funding rate. Current year 25, we had 55 and funded 51. It's a 92% rate, or 93. And then 49 out of 47, which is 95.9. So we're in the upper 40s for annual applications. Now on to the city manager's proposed budget for the new year. You guys get to see the first version of this before it goes to, after your approval, this will go to city council through the budget process with the budget committee. Basically, this is the same thing that we do every year. We forecast what we think our beginning fund balance is going to be, how much revenue we think we're going to receive. You can see it's a slight increase from current year to next year. And of course, it's always a crystal ball view of what could be or might be. Then the allocations for the convention center is per their contract, along with the convention center and Travel Salem portion. And then we get into city programs, and things for city-owned historic buildings such as siding and painting and roof replacements. And then regular maintenance of the buildings, city-owned historic buildings, Bush House, Deepwood, Gilbert Parish, and Rockenfield. We have landscape maintenance costs participate in and provide an offset for all the historic landmarks and parks throughout the city, as well as the Lord Scriber Gardens located at Deepwood. Then we get into administrative costs for staffing and grants and programs and that kind of stuff associated with that, and overhead costs. And then we get into the grant piece, which you just will update this with your actual dollar amounts for each one of the applications that receive passing scores. Your last action. And with that, we'll still have a small balance in the fund based on this proposal. So I get a motion for approval.
Is there a motion for approval?
I motion to approve the city manager's budget.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
Who's the second?
Betsy.
Betsy was the second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Tony, you with us?
Did we lose Jenny?
Tony, was that an aye vote or an open?
Oh, I'm sorry. It froze for a second. Yes, aye.
Welcome back.
So pass.
And on the agenda, do not have any facilitating operating grant reports, no event grant reports, and no capital improvement reports. So now is the roundtable discussion and appearance of interested citizens. This is the opportunity for those in attendance of the meeting to address the board and share upcoming events. So would anybody in attendance today like to go first to share their upcoming events? Yes.
My name is Laurel Williams and I represent the Oregon State Capitol Foundation. I wanted to invite you all to come and attend 2025 Cherry Blossom Day this Saturday, 11 to 3 at the Capitol. All the events, all the performances are free. In addition to Cherry Blossom Day, we'll also be starting Yasakura, which is a 2-week-long event of evening viewing of the cherry blossoms. So the lanterns are already up in the trees. I would invite any of you to come and participate. It is a fun time.
Did any of the cherry blossoms survive the hailstorm?
I was afraid to look when I drove by.
I was thinking about that this afternoon as the thunder was rolling. I was like, oh boy.
Wild. That's crazy. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
I'm John Obrance from the Halley Ford Museum of Art. When you're visiting the state capitol on Saturday, swing by the Halley Ford Museum of Art. We're offering free admission this Saturday in honor of Halley Ford's 120th birthday. She was born in 1905, passed away in 2007. She was really instrumental in the creation of the Halley Ford Museum of Art. So we're offering free admission this coming Saturday, and then just a few weeks down the road, we're offering free admission during spring break. So we've got some terrific exhibitions up right now. Brenda Mallory, The North Star Changes is an exhibition by this important Portland mixed media artist and Cherokee Nation member. It's an exhibition of prints, sculpture, and large-scale installations. They're abstract, but they often tell stories related to Cherokee history and culture. We have an exhibition upstairs in the that's in the Anderson Newbill Gallery downstairs, and upstairs in the study gallery and Prince Study Center, we have an exhibition called Nancy Floyd for the Love of Trees. Nancy won a Guggenheim Fellowship 2 years ago to embark on this multi-year project exploring Oregonians' bond, forest, and trees. And so what we have on view are photographs from the first 2 years of this multi-year project. And that'll be on through June 21st. So thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Beth Nevue and I'm on Zoom, so you can see me live there. This weekend, of course, Monday is St. Patrick's Day, and Kaylee of the Valley Society is mission is to promote music and dance, Irish and Celtic. Friday night is a dance at the VFW Hall with live music. VFW Hall is located at 630 Hood Street. Doors open at 7. There is a fee. If you want to learn some easy dance steps, you can arrive at 7:15. Live music is from 8 to 11. Saturday is our St. Patrick's Day walkabout. We start meeting at 11:30 outside the carousel at Riverfront Park. Bring weatherproof material. It looks like it might be raining. Willamette Valley Pipes and Drums leads us beginning at noon throughout the park and into the downtown, and then we return to the Riverfront Park. We try to take a photo at that point to acknowledge it. We're doing other dance demonstrations. We have several others in the weekend. Those are not necessarily open to the public. They're in assisted livings and other types of events like that. But at any rate, we invite all of you to come and celebrate St. Patrick's Day with Kaylee of the Valley.
Thank you.
Yes, Chris. Hi. I'm Marie from the carousel, and so tomorrow we are unveiling a new animal on the carousel, and his name is Mr. Sprinkles, and he is being sponsored by Dr. Cole Johnson, the orthodontist there on commercial. So it should be really fun. He's opened it up to the public, and so that will be from 1 to 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Awesome.
Great.
Give him a hard time for me, will you?
I sure will. And if you guys haven't seen Mr. Sprinkles, it was actually a stuffed animal that has these huge braces that they used a 3D printer to make. I mean, he looks like a big fat stuffed animal on the carousel. So we can change out his braces to different colors for the different holidays. So it should be really fun. And if any of you know Dr. Cole Johnson, he's a pretty fun guy. So it should be a fun time tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for the update. Okay, anybody else appearing online who would like to share about their bets? Yes. Sorry, it's hard for me to,
Can't see who's raising their hand.
Sally. Yeah.
Sally with the Elsinore Theater. Hello, everyone. We have a Def Leppard tribute tomorrow night at 7:30. And then Saturday, we have a great family show at 2 p.m. called Dragons and Mythical Beasts. I guess that's for ages 3 and up, so that should be lots of fun. And then we have Led Zeppelin tribute on March 22nd. And then we slow things down a little bit with the Glenn Miller Orchestra on March 23rd. And then we're really excited. April 10th, we have Dr. Jane Goodall coming, and that is sold out. It sold out really fast, but lots of people excited to come and listen to her speak. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Gonna read,
Yeah, Rochelle, and then
Yep.
and the other one. Forgot.
Pamela Garland
Pamela Garden.
from Salem Seekers.
So Rochelle.
Yes. Hi, I'm Rochelle Raffin. I'm with Salem Orchestra, and we actually have a concert this Saturday. So it's our spring chamber series. So every year we do a little bit smaller orchestration and feature soloists and more chamber style music. We have a really wonderful French horn soloist this time. And I was at rehearsal the other night, and it was just magical. It was really wonderful. So we're really excited to do that show. We are also featuring Synergy String Quartet, and that's this Saturday, March 15th at the East Salem Community Center at 7:30. So you can do the thing at the Elsinore first and then come to our, or the St. Patrick's Day thing and then come to our show later in the evening if you feel like making it a full day. But you can get tickets at salemorchestra.org, and we would love to see you there. Thanks.
And Kim, you have your hand up, right?
I do, yes, thank you. This is Kim with the Oregon Symphony in Salem. And we are looking forward to a few more concerts this year, especially on May 4th, Sunday, May 4th at 2:30. We will be at the Elsinore for Vivaldi's Four Seasons. We're looking forward to a fun show there. And then we have a show in April, on April 11th. And then on June 6th, our final show of the Salem season, we will be featuring the premiere of the full orchestration of a piece called Celilo Falls by our principal cellist, Nancy Ives. And that is going to have an expanded pre-concert educational piece. And we will also be giving out hundreds of student tickets for that show as well. It's my goal to completely sell out Smith Hall for that show. And then next Friday, March 21st, I am beyond excited to say that the symphony will be coming to McNary High School to do a special daytime concert as a side-by-side with the students there in their advanced symphony orchestra, with an audience of about 400 middle schoolers who are in music programs at the feeder middle schools. So we're really excited about that. And then the last thing is we announced our 25-26 season, and it will open on October 31st on Halloween. So I'm not sure what we're going to do, but we're going to do something fun. So I invite you to come and spend your Halloween with the symphony.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Is that everybody?
Did we already talk, Pam?
Yes.
I'm Yvonne Pudsey, and I'm with the Lord and Scriber Conservancy. I want to thank all of you for the work you did during the grant review. I know it's a tremendous amount of work. We have our first garden tours coming up for the year at Deepwood Museum and Gardens. We're the ones the Lord and Scriber Conservancy cares for the formal gardens there. And we are doing tours during the Deepwood Native Plant Sale on Friday, March 21st and Saturday, the 22nd at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. And I encourage you to visit our gardens. They are blooming beautifully right now. And at Gady Hollow, the blooms, the tree blooms and the flowers were not damaged by the hail, thankfully. I heard the same at Deepwood, so we're thankful for that. We are having our first open garden celebration at Gady Hollow this year on April the 19th. And then one of the things we're going to be adding to enhance our availability for people to come and visit the gardens is to come on any Wednesday between 10 and 4, in addition to our open garden celebrations that we do. And we'll be adding some weeknight open garden times instead of just doing weekends. So we're trying to look at how we can reach different audiences here in Salem. Thank you.
I don't have anything to announce because our festival is until July, but I just wanted to thank the board for your work as well. And we're going to announce our season in the next week or so of the 6 productions we're going to do of the festival. And we're going to have a kind of a pre-festival event. We're collaborating with Northwest Theater Network in Portland, and we're going to work with them to kind of write a fun series of scripts that is going to be titled "Where is the Festival?" So they're going to be going all over the campus in different spots, trying to find where the festival is going to be when it opens the next few days. So that's kind of a fun event that's going to happen right before the festival.
Okay, thanks. I don't have an upcoming event. I can just share updates about Willamette Arts Center. We withdrew our application for the event that usually takes place at the State Fair as the fairgrounds terminated our lease as of June 30th. So we don't have a base of operations to make that a success until we have a new location. And our search for a new location continues. We hope to have very little downtime between and we actually do plan to keep doing some programming, like our Family Play Sunday, those things that don't require a giant gas kiln. And any ideas you have for locations? I need about 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. I need a roll-up door. I need a flat slab, and I need parking. That's all.
The old Kmart place?
I know, well, we put them up there. I even looked at the Fleet Services building for Les Schwab, and they're still using it. I mean, we've looked a lot, and we're not the only people looking for real estate, so sometimes we're just a little late to start.
Lisa,
Yeah.
have you looked into the former Honda dealership on 13th Street? That's been empty for a minimum of 10 or 15 years. It's an ideal setting.
Yeah, well, okay, thank you, Roger. One of the things we run into, people want to sell the property, and we're not in a position to buy.
It's up for sale or lease.
At least it's whatever. Thank you.
You bet.
I think that's.
I got something.
Go ahead. Yes.
Sitting on the other side of the table, Press Play Spring is out, and there's free coffees here for people who are here. Or you can find them at hopefully all your favorite places in Salem. I'm in delivery mode right now, so I'm basically lugging magazines, but it's also online, and Chris sent an email with that link. And yeah, if anyone's got events in the summer, send it to me, because we're already working on the next issue.
It's great. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's everybody. So we have our final item of business, which is other business and parking lot items. So for tonight's other business, we have Josh Eggleston, who is the City of Salem Chief Financial Officer, who's going to give a presentation on the City of Salem livability levy.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. So we're going around to boards and commissions, neighborhood associations to just try to get word out about the levy. If you're not familiar, staff, at some point here, probably, I think it's next Tuesday, we're not allowed to advocate for the levy once it's actually referred to the county. So we're trying to get to as many groups as we can to talk about it. The council referred it on February 24th for the May 20th election, which feels really soon, just to be clear. And it really comes about because we have a challenge. And it really is two main causes. One are statewide property tax limitations that were passed back in the 90s that both limited the rate and then the growth of property taxes here in Salem and everywhere in Oregon. It was a statewide measure. And then also rising costs. And you know, everyone in this room in your personal and professional lives are experiencing rising costs. The city is no exception. 80% of our budget in the general fund is people. People are expensive. Benefits, salaries, wages. We also have the public employee retirement system, Oregon PERS, where there's a PERS board that sets the rate. Just one example I've been giving, the rate between this year and next year, just the general fund portion, it's going up $6.6 million. Just due to low investment returns, and to balance that out, they increase the employer rate. So that's part of this gap that we're looking at. So $13.8 million deficit going into 2026. We're not the only city in this position. Most cities, counties have something similar. They're looking at some level of deficit. We have been reducing costs. If you've been around Salem for a while, you've probably seen some services that have gone away. I'm only going to talk about the last couple of years. So in 2024, we reduced $4.7 million in services. And in the current year, fiscal year 2025, we reduced $3.4 million. The forecast review team was a group that the city convened this last fall to review the preliminary 5-year forecast. They made some recommendations that we took them, we included them in the forecast, and it was basically more aggressive revenue assumptions, more aggressive savings assumptions, and actually reduced the deficit. It was 17.7 down to that 13.8. We also had the City Efficiency Committee, and this was a group of 8 individuals from the Salem area that are used to working with large budgets or large organizations. They met 5 times for about an hour and a half each time. Got into a pretty good level of detail, as much as you can within 5 meetings. Definitely not down to each individual program, but they did meet with the fire chief, the police chief, other department directors. Their findings: no inordinate waste, is certainly not enough to cover a $13.8 million deficit. Salem operates with fewer resources than peers. So if you look at the per capita employees in each department, and this is no surprise to City of Salem employees, at least, we operate with fewer. If you're talking about police, fire, internal services, we just operate with fewer employees. That being said, there are still some opportunities for efficiencies. We'll talk about those here in a second, but external factors limit flexibility. And they did recognize that, the revenue constraints and our costs, or a lack of control over our costs. If you're in the private sector, you might have a little bit more control over some of your actual costs. For us, a lot of them are handed to us from the state, or they're through collective bargaining. So it creates many more challenges. Their recommendations: increase intergovernmental collaboration. We wholeheartedly agree with this one. One example is there's a Marion County fire station across the street now from the city limits, just with some recent annexations. So looking at how public safety responds and trying to make it more of what's the nearest resource and less about the actual boundaries. Reduce employee overtime. For the city, we really don't have too much overtime in non-public safety departments, but we do want to take this one seriously. We'll talk about how we're trying to move forward with that one. Leverage audits. So we've been doing performance audits. The city manager's office was just completed. We're looking at doing risk management, the urban renewal agency, and we're also having several other kind of on deck, including IT and some other areas. Explore alternative service delivery. To looking at other ways we could deliver service to the community, and then use AI. We are continuing to seek efficiencies, so we're moving forward on some of the City Efficiency Committee recommendations to reduce overtime for fire and police. And this isn't overtime because fire and police employees want to do overtime necessarily. This is to fulfill minimum staffing needs. So if we have a vacancy, if we have someone call out sick, using overtime to backfill those positions. And this one isn't really strictly financial. It's also about the employees. After you've been through a 24-hour plus shift, having to stay and have another shift isn't good for the employee or good for the city. So we're just trying to reduce that also. Implement AI solutions to help employee workload. There were some initial concerns about AI is going to take my job, and we're really not looking at that. It's really about improving the employee workload, maybe creating some efficiencies so we don't need to add employees in the future, but it's really to get that employee workload down to a manageable level. And then to continue the efficiency audits, and the thing we really want to note here is it's not just about doing the audit and sticking on the shelf and saying, it's about having some accountability for actually implementing some of the audit recommendations. On the right, this is something new. We talked about kind of the service reductions, but as we were prepping for fiscal year 2026 budget development, we saw a need to preserve funding for that year. So we implemented some restrictions. This is across all funds, all departments, and no new travel, no non-required overtime, no consultants, software, technology, reduced supply purchases, and evaluating positions before they're recruited. Clearly, this isn't sustainable. It's not like you could never replace a laptop, never implement new software, but it's something we've implemented for the balance, through June 30th. And we're considering if we can extend it into next year also. What happens without the levy? And we saw kind of a preview of this last year with the budget cycle. So the levies to fund Parks and Rec, library, youth and senior services. If the levy doesn't pass, those are the services that will be most impacted. They're not the only services impacted, but they'll be the most significant impacted. The city council landed on 98 cents per thousand of assessed value, not market value. So say you could sell your house for 500,000. We're not talking about that number. We're talking about what you're actually taxed on, and you'll see both numbers on your property tax statement. So it's generally the lower number. The average impact for a homeowner is $220 per year, about $13 per month, expected to generate 14 million in the first year if it passes, and a total of 76 million over the 5 years. So local option levies, you can only approve them for up to 5 years. So if we wanted to extend it, we'd have to come back and ask voters again. What the levy does, it funds the current level of service for parks and recreation, slight improvement to library hours, like it would probably be open right now instead of closed. Senior and youth programs continue the current level of service. We do have some accountability measures, so dedicated fund separate from the general fund, an oversight committee, and then also a specific audit to ensure that all expenses are being spent according to the ballot language. And then it's a little counterintuitive, but it also helps preserve police and fire. So if you take the livability services out of the general fund, it kind of helps everybody else in the general fund. I've been through a lot of budget cycles, and what we see is splash pads and sports relays pitted against police officers. It's not really a fair competition. So by pulling these livability services out into a separate fund, it allows us to preserve and prioritize public safety in the general fund.
Josh, can I do a quick introduction?
Go for it.
May I ask who this group is?
This is the Cultural Tourism Promotion Advisory Board.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Cultural Tourism and Promotion Advisory.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm a member of the PAC supporting the levy, working on the campaign to get the vote out. So my name is Nancy Layton. I'm also the president of the Friends of the Library. So that's why we're here tonight meeting. Thank you so much for getting informed. I love it.
Thank you. Thanks.
One thing we really don't want people to be confused with is that we won't know what happens with the levy until actually after the budget process is well underway. You were talking about the budget process. It does start in April, mid-April. We'll deliver a balanced budget, and it won't include the levy funds. It'll include significant reductions. We don't want that to be confusing for the public. It'll be really parallel tracks. And then if the levy passes, our intention is to reconvene the budget committee to add back the revenue and the services. And then the long-term need, clearly we need funding for longer than 5 years, but the 5 years gives us time to develop a more sustainable funding solution, which a piece of it could include continuing the local option levy. There's lots of examples of cities that just continually renew their local option levies. This is a view of the 5-year forecast, just showing the potential local option levy there, $14 to $16.6 million of additional revenue. What we want to emphasize here is it doesn't take care of the full problem. So there at the bottom, you still see some red. But we have some ideas of how to solve that. We're in conversations with the legislature about a capital district or payment in lieu of taxes. We're looking at potentially stop collecting the tax increment in urban rural areas that have kind of reached their completion. They're done with all the projects. And just the urban rural areas, that's eventually about 4 million a year. So that could be toward addressing this reading. So the levy does have a lot of support. A bunch of them just met over there. There's a coalition on the campaign side. They also have the police and the fire unions that have endorsed the measure. Our general service union, our AFS union has endorsed the measure. The chamber is considering endorsing the measure. I also saw the school board voted to endorse the measure also. So a lot of support. As staff, we're not advocating for it, but feel free if you want to support the measure to connect with the campaign. There's a QR code on here, and then also on the handout that I passed out or sitting over by the table. So we have a website set up with some questions and answers that have additional information. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the people in attendance or board members? Anybody online?
Board members themselves are following the same rules on the 18th as city staff, correct?
Yeah, a little easier though, because you don't have necessarily working hours. So as long as you're making sure that you're acting on your own behalf and on behalf of the board, it's a little simpler. For Chris and I, a little more challenging, but certainly like to support the measure.
Yeah, there's an email included in the packet that goes into this more detail. Okay, last chance for questions.
Would this help fund like the more resources for the police department? Activities that they do, I know that they cut, and then also the volunteer academy was canceled for the one in April. Would this help fund that?
So that's part of the short-term restrictions that we imposed on all the departments. So certainly if the levy passes, we wouldn't continue those measures. Like police officers are out at neighborhood associations. We like the Citizens Academy. The more interaction we have there, the better. So it is unfortunate right now, but we're really looking at that short-term cost savings, and a lot of those activities are funded with overtime, which is why they were put on pause at least for now. As the levy passes, it will certainly come back.
Okay, any other questions? Online or those in attendance?
I have one question. When you talk about the 4.7 million cut and then the 3.4 million cut, is that year over year? So the first year reference, the budget was decreased by the 4.7, and then the following year it went down yet another 3.4 million.
That is correct. So we made actual $4.7 million of ongoing reductions. I will say the second number, the 3.4, did include some one-time things we did this year, like deferring equipment replacement. But yeah, those are not cumulative. They're separate actions.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, Josh, thank you for your today. Really appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate you having me. Okay. Is there any other business or parking lot items that are not listed here that anybody would like to discuss? Is there any final updates for anybody?
One possible action from the April meeting, which is scheduled for the 10th of April. Do I have a motion from the board to do a survey of the applicants of how they think this round of scoring and reviewing went? Past, you wish to have your own discussion ahead of time and identify questions that you wish to ask.
Could you email us the questions previously asked to see if we should
I can do that.
clarify
Can't
anything?
make a decision on it.
No,
For
can't.
the meeting.
I can review them.
You can review them. But then, and then we just put the, that'll be the topic of discussion here, and I think helping to better. And whether there's some items that you wanted to delve in more as we do the process.
And is there a motion to send out the survey again this year?
That can be done on.
Yeah, let's discuss it later. Surveys here. Survey fatigue is a.
Next steps, just for everyone's information, those that haven't been around for a while. The next steps will be that the budget information will go forward to the budget committee. And those meetings start in April, as Josh has talked about. For the top grants, there are usually, there's usually no changes between what you produce and send forward to the budget committee and what ultimately gets adopted by city council at the last meeting in June. So the next steps are the budget and the COT grant awards will go to the budget committee for review. They'll pass it on to city council in June. And at the end of June, city council will adopt a budget. Usually includes everything that for the TOT as presented without any changes. And then we will send out letters, grant award letters and contracts for starting a new fiscal year with all the applications that received funding.
Sounds good. Anything else, somebody else? Okay, in that case, meeting adjourned. All right, thank you.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're.